Jeff again on the Learning Dutch in 1 Week series. If you've watched all the rest of the videos before, you've kind of followed the sequence of how this method I've been using. And I've kind of customized this method from a lot of experience. And like I said, being a linguist, I have been a language teacher, instructor, and it's a very custom, really survival language learning rapid, really rapid. So now I'm going to get to the point of reading. Okay, so I've already explained how to do all the pronunciation, the building the words, and all that. Now I'm going to get to the reading part. Reading is another level. It's a different type of. It's a lot of people refer to language as writing, and writing, no. Spoken language is the mother tongue of people. Period. Okay, the native language. Writing happens, reading actually happens when you go to school. I'm not going to talk about exceptions of homeschool and all these things, but reading has always happened when children go to school. I mean, throughout the history of humankind, of what we know for when people go to school, okay, and when writing systems existed, it usually happened at school because no need to do it in the family, okay, in general. In Until we get in these, now we have the internet and all this stuff. You have to read, you have to write, right, and read. You have to understand. But I mean, I'm talking about the majority of the languages of the world today, and the past. So reading and then writing happens after reading. So the goal for me was to be able to understand the reading part and to pronounce it. I didn't really care about the writing. Well, the writing I did do a little bit by reading and then writing it out, right? But my goal was not to write the language. Okay, that was not my goal. It was to be able to just read it and to understand what my goals. I had another goal during the time that I was. I mean, if I go to Holland, to the Netherlands, I would like to be able to read the road signs, right? I'm thinking about this for if I'm going, right? So I want to be able to do this. This is a key thing. So I get a little bit of noise here, but we're in a restaurant, so they're picking up stuff. So I want to be able to do a few things if I'm going to drive there, right? Eventually. So I want to be able to do this in a certain order, and this will be helpful to me. If I want to read something, again, I'm talking about survival Dutch. I'm not talking about reading fluent Dutch. I'm not talking about like reading my guitar magazines or things like that. I'm not talking about that. I would need a little bit higher level to do that, and I can do that with like German, or especially with French and Spanish. But like German, my German is I have an A 1.2 level in German. At least I've tested past that, so I'm in the A2 level now, the beginning of A2 level, basically. And so I'm kind of in the reading where I can actually start reading. I can read it and understand it, but I need to. It takes time. So, but I don't have that level for Dutch at all, and I'm not trying to have that level. My goal is to be able to do survival. Okay, survival Dutch. So I'm thinking about the context of what I would need, and that would be reading things in the grocery store when I go there. If I want to go there, or if I need the road signs, or this, I need to know what the exit is, and I need to know, and I need to know what the to be able to read some of the road signs. So these are the things I think about when I want to learn survival Dutch, right? Or go to the train station. You need to be able to read the things in the train station, right? These kinds of things. These will all be needing. So that's my focus point. So this is as we evolve to the week. I was thinking about what I would need that would be useful for me at some point in time. Okay. So we got to the reading, and one of the funny things that I did was I got a kid's book. Okay, I got a kid's book. And this is a really key thing because kids' books are made for children, right? They're made for kids that are learning to read, right? So that's a good thing. Now, some examples of kids' book you can do if you're going to go to Holland or the Netherlands, you're going to go things. Kind of the books you want to do the approach you want to take. As I suggest, that you go to McDonald's and buy a Happy Meal, right? Because a Happy Meal has kids' books, right? They always have a kids' book. That's a great approach for doing language learning. You want to learn to think and speak and read as a child because then you'll advance quickly. again, I'm learning. I said at the very my first video, I talked about I'm going to take the approach of learning as a child, right? And it worked. I've just sped up this process. I did not take time. Didn't take me 2 years. It took me 1 week, right, to do this. And I'm not talking one full week of listening. I mean, a child listens all day long. I mean, they're constantly living the bubble, right? I wasn't living that bubble. I was doing other things too. And my language instructor was doing other things too. So we kind of had to, figure out the schedules and make it happen. So this, uh, what was important to do, and learning, like, finding people to do meetings and stuff. I mean, I had to look for the things to go to some meetings that would be in Dutch, right? So I had to go to some things that things I would not normally go to in France. So I had to go some things, and I mean, you can do these things, right? You can find these things if you look a lot up on. There are things like Meetup and these apps that help you find kind of cultural groups, right? And that's what I did, is to find some cultural groups to do things, right? And that helps me find the native speakers, and that helps me be able to do that quickly, right? So sorry, I get the noise, but I'm in a restaurant. So so, but if you're going to go to the Netherlands, it's a lot easier because you're going to be around. You're going to be around it all the time, right? So that's really easy to kind of figure out, right? So I suggest if you want to do reading stuff, go to McDonald's, get a Happy Meal, use the kiosk and stuff to get the stuff and learn to read and write through that and all this stuff, right? So these kind of approaches that you can take to do this, right? Then. So the reading thing, I took the simplified approach of that. Also, I got a lot of just signs and things. Yeah, I got things that were easy in, like, grocery store context and all that stuff, and I would use that to go ahead and be practicing on this on a constant basis, right? Around my class time. So I'd practice as much as I can and put myself in such kind of the context where I'd have to think about it. Now, what I say is, if you're going to be in the Netherlands and Holland, the thing that you really want to do is, like, every single time you do something, you want to go practice it. Okay, this is the best way to do this. I'm working here. I'm explaining. I've got a different situation, there, but the thing, when you're living in the situation, you want to be practicing, like, every single time you go do something, you want to act it out. And that's what I did with the teacher too. I got the teacher to act it out with me, right? To do as much as possible. We acted out with movements and gestures and things, and explain it. Like, my example is always, you don't say, close the window, close the door. You go do the action, because that's what kids do, right? So now the reading part was the same thing, and the reading was after I'd figured out the phonology of the language and then we began working on the words, and all these minimal pairs really help, because when you start breaking these words, right, and breaking them down, and you find the words that are in the text, right, and then you start playing with that, and once you find the words in the text, and I start building the minimal pairs that I mentioned based on the text I found, right? And then I could see the words, short words, and I say, okay, that's pronounced this way, and let's start creating these minimal pairs. And I create all these minimal pairs, and we'd start doing it. And it would be very interactive that way. We'd be constant. I don't have the sheets with me. I had all these. We had paper. We were filling up these papers and drawing diagrams and things all the time, constantly. It was really exciting. She learned a lot about her language that she didn't know. She was a native speaker, but didn't realize the linguistics aspects of it. So the reading part was a key, and I distinguish between reading and writing. Actually, I have made a whole video on the difference between reading, writing, and thinking, and speaking, and listening, right? So I've got a whole video on that, and another one in my playlist, because they're really different skills. But here I'm trying to take the reading skill, and the fun thing about this approach was, by seeking out the people that spoke it in certain contexts and stuff, and just doing this out a few times a week, that really helped to listen to it, native speech, and then the reading part, using kids' books. I got a language learning book, and a CD, and just listen to that a lot of greetings. Just listen to it constantly, right, in the car or whatever. Just the CD can burn down to an MP3, MP4, MP3 file, and listen to it, right? Just listen to it. And that just burns it into your mind, right? And then you try to use it and practice it. Again, if you're in Holland, then you want to practice a lot when you're there, because you got every chance you can, right? So but the reading part is that was the most difficult part because of the pronunciation of a number of vowels. Um, some of the vowels, some of the things that were the weirdest to deal with. Okay, was we get the word out. Now, out on the highway, what you would find like exit signs, it's UIT, pronounce out. And that was a hard one because it's just there's the spelling does not correspond with the phonetic alphabet at all. That was a tough one. And then you get a lot of vowels that are kind of the way they're spelled. They're spelled significant. I had to find a number of Dutch people. They said that actually for them learning languages was tough because they had to unlearn their difficulty of their own spelling system to learn other languages that are very phonetic, that have a lot of more simple vowels. So that was really interesting. Um, but it's these are things that you have to kind of work on, and and this just learn how to read it. Learn how to do that. Yeah, learn how to just read it simply. Sorry, I got some noise here. Um, Learn how to read it, and then kind of simple things, simple books, and then build that up slowly. Okay. Uh, Now, I'll say one thing. One of the things um, I've got a phrase book. It's called a multilingual phrase book. It's really good. I can't remember the publisher. It's actually sitting in the car. Um, and what it does is it breaks down, it puts all these scenarios like buying things at the train station and going to the train station, buying food. It puts all these different, going to the post office stuff. It's a great book. It's 7 languages. And in fact, I'm going to use this to learn some more languages. Right now, I'm going to go through all of them, right? Um, but however, it's written out in phonetics in English. So it uses English as your phonetics, which can work. Okay, I don't need that. If I have the actual phonetic alphabet used, that helps. I can do it. But here I was doing it completely orally. Completely orally. I had no support. I was just doing it from scratch, just listening. So and asking questions and stuff. So the reading part was a challenge, but I was at the end of the week. I was able to actually read some literary text in Dutch, um, and I surprised a group of people. And I said, you know, I just want you to understand that the accent will not be in the right places. In other words, because I'm not reading it fluently, and just the accent won't be in the right place. The emphasis, the accent won't be in the right place. And I said the intonation won't be, correct either. But I said my goal is to read it and you don't laugh, okay? And they didn't laugh. And they were actually quite surprised by the end of the week. Again, this was only 15 hours of instruction time, and probably not quite 10 hours of listening time. And a lot of just listening to the CD and stuff and doing that, and then and then just that I didn't do any extra homework around the time that we were in sitting in our sessions. I could have done that, but I had other things to do too. So, um, so I did not do that on top of it, and I didn't want to put any extra pressure on myself. It was just for fun, right? So that was I wanted to see how fast I could do this. But if I had added the homework, the actual done exercises, done things and done it well. Beyond that, I did listen to the CD a lot. So the CD from the learning class, I listened to that quite a few times. So I was doing things, but not sitting down and reading and doing it. But I was listening to it. But if I'd sat down and actually read a lot more with the books, the kids' books and stuff, I probably would have improved, quite a bit more in that period of time. So that's the reading part of this experience in survival, learning Dutch in 1 week as a survival Dutch learning program.